Okay, now we're going to get started. Thank you all for coming today. I'm Sarah Joseph. I'm the Director of Exhibitions, and we're really excited to have Jenny Scobel here. Her work, as you can see, is all around us in the gallery, and will be up for another few weeks. And we had an opening reception last night, and now we get to hear a little bit more about her work. So I'd like to ask you all to welcome Jenny.
If we have questions, just to go through the slides. I have close to 50 images. So, this one, it's titled What a Friend Had Said. It's an older piece. It's from 1999. I was using a lot of cartoon images.
Are these chronological, Jenny?
No.
Did you see earliest first?
No. But this is one of the early ones.
Is that a microphone on you? Because it is not very loud.
It's just for that camera, it's nothing.
I'll try to talk louder.
Thank you. I mean, I'm
I was a
back here,
cheerleader,
so.
Almost.
Yeah, shout at us. It's okay.
I wonder what draws you to use the faces that you do, like over and over.
They'll just be a face that I find compelling. You know, and when I do friends, I don't do friends that care about how they look, because I take liberties with lines. so I have a friend who always wants me to, but I won't, because I know she wants me to do her Amish outfit with little short skirt. I love you, but it's not going to happen. It's a lot of fun photographs, and recently I'm working on friends.
How big are these images, Jenny? I mean, at megabytes.
They're big. I probably should have scaled it differently.
Oh, that's nice. When did you do this?
I should have wrote my computer.
Is it a stock apple? You have to transfer from the DVD to the desktop.
That's what we're trying to do right now.
Your aura is like shutting it off.
So I repeat the faces a lot because I kind of fall in love with the faces. Finally, my dealer said, you might have explored that one enough. And he's right. So I'm counting to
Sometimes taking things off directly after desktop slows things down. So we're doing
And the cartoon images are mostly from Max Fletcher. I didn't use Disney too much. When I
If we're going into the hard drive, it won't go as slow. It's just coming out of the desktop.
Sorry, Jenny.
And I used Disney and Max Fletcher were two competing studios. They used a lot of the same animators. But Disney was very concerned about having things look like to scale to actual, the actual size. He wanted everything, and Max Fletcher was like, it's a cartoon. So I preferred Fletcher to. So I'm talking about your perspective, my last.
Oh, thank you. Somebody had scrawled on a poster in the elevator, horrible perspective. So I asked Jenny Scobel to please talk about the fact that these perspective images are taken from cartoons and, so.
And the bodies are spliced. The heads, for a number of years, the heads would be kind of common pedestrian faces. And then I put them on starlets' bodies. So you would have known the body, but you don't know the head. And because of that splicing, these perspectives probably aren't that good either. I could care less.
Now, I didn't read your artist statement, so,
I've
that's my
never
own fault
written
that
an
I didn't
artist
read it, but you're saying that these pieces are composites, is that right?
Yeah.
That you're taking things from a variety of sources and
Right.
resources, and that even the bodies are composites.
Right.
Now, what is your objective with that?
To create a painting.
So your sole expressive intent is just to create a painting, even though you could just as easily take one discrete figure rather than
You
a
can't
composite
really,
figure?
not if you want a lot of detail, and I like a lot of detail. So if you're taking imagery from magazines or whatever, you only get so much detail. But if you take a photograph of something, you get a close-up of the head. You get more. There's more information.
Okay, so you're splicing heads on because you can control the amount of detail that you achieve in the
that's
photographs
one of
you're
the
taking.
reasons. That's one of the
But
reasons.
why are you splicing their heads onto another person's body?
Well, at first I liked the fact that it was a starlet, this kind of a very well-known imagery, but then to put a common face on it. And when I first started 15 years ago doing this kind of body, I liked having things from different ages. So the hands would generally be from somebody older. The face would be from somebody young, and I would play around with time. Not obviously, I wouldn't try to make it look grotesque. I wanted it to look, but I liked playing with time. And since everything changes, then I stopped doing that. And lately, I've been buying dresses on eBay, and then posing myself and using my body, and then splicing heads on it.
Okay, so many of these are actually your body with someone else's head.
This one is, and the first one is, and everything else isn't. But the last few worked, because those were the last two pieces.
And your reason for selecting these background images that sort of situate these figures, do you have a reason for why you selected those particular items?
Yes.
Could you talk about that?
Sometimes I'm not a political artist, but there's political reasons. There were political reasons for choosing that kind of imagery. That imagery comes from a book in the 1500s describing a Muslim story. And I started those when it started to hit the paper that'll, Baghdad, that's the Garden of Eden. And when you started to hear that the museums were being looted.
So you don't necessarily expect that the viewer is going to understand.
No, I don't want
your
that. He
motivation.
doesn't need to. And in fact, I never talk about it. I'm only talking about it because this is a small setting. I would never write it, but it's private.
Okay.
No, what I want to do is I want to create a painting. I want to create a painting that stands on its own. But I have to, I spend a lot of time, and so it has to mean something to me.
So even though you're not specifically trying to put meaning, when I look at...
There's meaning to me. That meaning doesn't need to be,
Okay, because when I look at each one of your pieces of art, I see a narrative in each one, and I guess I could put great significance, in each one, but you're saying you didn't purposely.
Oh yeah, I do it purposely, but it doesn't. My purpose doesn't need to be understood.
Oh.
That's an interesting concept in this particular environment that maybe you could elaborate on a little more, Jenny, because...
Well, if you start talking about politics, you have to start defending politics, and it becomes politics.
Even non-political work, we're
Yeah.
we're really pushing our students to be able to defend their motivations and talk about what they're trying to convey in their work, and whether or not that's being conveyed, whether or not the viewer has any sense of what's being conveyed. And you're basically saying you don't care if the viewer understands your motivations or not. Is that...
That's not my objective.
Okay.
My objective is to do a powerful painting.
Okay.
It's like I don't care what Velasquez I don't care that he was painting the wealthy people. I care that what he created was amazing.
Would you say that part of your objective, though, is for the viewer to bring their own motivations and their own personal experience to the work, and so they're creating their own narrative, and like maybe that's what it's more about than pushing
It's a
set of
visual
intention on
language. It's visual. You know, what I do care about, I care about how the eye travels. I care about a dynamic that happens.
Why one figure is your example?
I don't know. I think I'm just a loner. I don't, you know, I'm sure there's reasons. I have put more than one figure in. I had a hard time doing that. Well, there's one here. Maybe just, because I have a lot of slides. If you have any questions about this one. This is a recent painting, 2006. I started doing people with animals. You have a question for John? Yeah.
Did you talk about how and why you use wax with your...
Yeah, I use, if you can see that first painting, you can't, it has so much glare on it, you can't really see it. And that's because it doesn't have the wax on it. So when you put the wax on it, plus I'm very careless with my own work. So when I move things around, I smudge it, you know. So I wanted something on there. And then, so I played around with wax. I thought, let me try wax, and it worked. So I take beeswax, I drip beeswax on it, and then I thought, well, how am I going to get it to move around? I thought, well, maybe one of those butane, and a hairdryer does it, which I love using a hairdryer. It's like, you know, I move it around with the hairdryer, and so what it does is it protects the image from myself. And it also, if I want to put oil on it, it separates the oil from the surface, because if graphite or pencil and oil is deadly. So it creates a barrier for that. And then it makes the surface, it changes the white, it makes it creamier. To me, it makes it more sensual. And plus I like the fact that you kind of have to look into it. So
Yeah, I think it's successful. I think it was a successful combination. I like how
it
I was
started
intrigued how it's
out
utilized.
being just trying to be practical.
Yeah.
So the wax, application of wax does not smear the graphite? Is the
It
graphite
can.
sprayed first, or?
No.
Okay.
No, but I work very heavily with an eraser.
Okay.
They're very heavily worked. And because it's kind of ground in with the eraser, I go through more erasers than I do pencils.
And what is the surface that you're actually working on? It looks like it's a prepared surface.
Yeah, it's gesso mixed in with marble dust, mixed in with a little bit of oil.
Ochre?
Ochre.
So it must be oil-based gesso?
No, but that oil will mix in with it, and small amounts. I don't think it's too deadly.
You mentioned that you, after you put the drawing with wax, and then you could work on oil. Have you used multiple layers of wax?
No, because once you take that hairdryer to it. But what I have started doing, because I used to have to, you can't go into it. I can't go into it. Once that wax is on there, you're not going to get it off. So you can't go back in and change the pencil. So what I've started to do is, so I would have to wait to add the color all the way to the end. And then now I've started to use watercolor. Because the watercolor you can put on before the wax. You can't put on oil before the wax. Or you can, but you get mud. You know. It's Michelle Pfeiffer. It's an older piece. I think I said 2004. It's before 2004.
So some of the heads that you use are friends and people that we would never recognize, and obviously some of them are
Well-known people.
well-known people.
Yeah.
One of the things I read, and you and I were talking last night about this, Jenny, that on websites and stuff where your work is carried, or with galleries that you've worked with, they write about your work but you said that that's not anything you've written, that's what they write about the work. And one of the things I read was that one of the issues in your work, and I just wanted to check and see if this rings true for you, is particularly with the images of women, which seem to be predominant, that you're thinking about, and you talked about combining maybe older or younger hands and maybe a different age body and a different age head. You're talking about sort of the elusive quality of beauty. That's a lovely idea.
Well, it
Does that hold true for you? Is that
the mixing of ages actually started. People think that when you die, people come to you, people who've passed. There's that idea.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen, but there's that idea. And I always thought, well, if it was my mother, what age would I see her at? And so that, for that reason, I started to be more interested, not care about where the sources came from or the age of the sources. I just didn't want to make people look like a freak.
Yeah. So you're mixing early 20s, middle age, late age, all together in these images.
Yeah. There's a lot of things I don't care about. I don't care about light source. I could care less about a consistent light source.
Is there a reason why you always have your hands folded? I noticed, I walk
I don't know why, I do use a lot of the same imagery repeatedly, so it might have something to do with that. And I like doing hands, but I don't know how to make them look natural. And I sort of like, this is supposedly like kind of supposed to be an earnest kind of position, but I don't know why I do that. Sometimes it's just the bad luck or the photograph I have. These are more cartoon imageries, or early cartoon.
And you use digital processes do you actually create collages on the computer to work from?
No, I never. That would just confuse me. I've always thought, boy, I could really simplify things because I destroy a lot of work.
You
There's
start
nothing I can
pieces
do.
and destroy them and
Yes.
never bring them to fruition.
Yeah,
Do you reuse the surface that you've prepared?
yeah. I just take a sander, I take a belt sander and go out in the hall and
And what
sweep later.
What determines a ruined piece for you? What makes it a piece you're going to abandon?
Sometimes I think I can fix something by working on another area, and sometimes I'll spend a lot of time. And when I get involved in a piece, I can't always see it. In fact, I can seldom see it. And so you start solving one problem and not realizing that it's created another problem. So it just becomes, and sometimes it's just like, you know what? There's flaws in this that I can't fix, and I'm wasting time. And it's liberating to get rid of it. It feels so good.
Could you give us a little background information? I mean, I don't, maybe it's printed somewhere, but just, where you were educated?
Yeah, I grew up in
if you
Ohio.
teach or-
Yeah, in a town similar to this, not quite as nice. So I grew up in Ohio. I stayed there till I was 18, and then I left and moved around a lot. I went to Cleveland Institute of Art, and then went to France for a year, and then went to Colorado because I just couldn't go back to Cleveland. It was so dangerous then. So I went to Colorado and went to school at Colorado State University. And then I thought I wanted to really learn French, so I moved to New Orleans. I was a little dumb,
Interesting version of French.
Yeah, it didn't work, but I had a great time and saved enough money. I bartended, saved enough money, moved to New York. I moved around a bit. I went to D.C. for a while. I went to Italy for a while, and then landed in New York and decided that I was serious about it, and that's where you went if you were serious about it. And so I started at Pratt, but not to go to Pratt, just to get, just to sort of as an entry. And I got a master's at Pratt. And I stayed in New York largely ever since. I spent a little bit of time in San Francisco for personal reasons, but I've been in New York since about '84. But you don't have to go to New York anymore. You can do this in other places. The world has changed. And this is the view out my studio window. And
Mine's the helicopter.
oh, there's helicopters. After 9/11, all of a sudden there were all these surveillance helicopters. It was very disturbing, and so I started to,
Was your studio anywhere near Ground Zero?
yeah.
Wow. What bridge is this?
It's the Manhattan Bridge.
When you are using faces over and over, are you
Uh-huh.
redrawing it each time?
Yeah, yeah. To me, they always look different. I think they always look different, but my dealer's right. I gotta stop. I've got to stop with this. I can obsess, but
Watch your microphone, please.
do what?
Trying to touch the microphone.
Am I playing with it?
Yeah, try to.
I actually find that face kind of comforting. So I see it. I see a lot in different pieces.
Yeah, you haven't seen them all.
Your dealer's in charge, so.
I'm very lucky. I have a very smart dealer. You know, and most people I wouldn't listen to, but I'm really, he knows.
Is that your body? Yeah.
Yeah, it's my shirt.
Sure.
It's my belt. And that's Teresa Russell. I don't know if you might be too young to know who Teresa Russell is.
Did you ever run into any trademark issues or anything? You've seen the recognizable cartoon imagery?
It's all public domain.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Plus, it's all changed. No one's ever, no one's ever questioned me about it. But it's public domain, and it's changed so much that they would have a hard time. But I seldom used the actual animated figure, because the animated figures were generally always male, but the backgrounds were done by women, generally. So I almost never. There was a few times, maybe twice.
How long does it take you from start to finish to complete a piece?
I usually work on a piece for 2 weeks, and then I have to put it away because I can't really see the problems, and then I bring it out again and work on it, and then a lot of times I have to turn it away again and go back into it. So, I mean, a month comfortably, but I'm not just working on one. And some go real quick. Every once in a while you'll do one in like a week. And you think, oh great, this is my future. It's not my future. Yeah, that body is Jackie O. I do a lot of Jackie
I noticed that they all have like either a somber look or some kind of distant.
Yeah, part of it is that, I spend a lot of time in the studio by myself. It's not like I'm walking around smiling. And lately I'm starting to do pieces of people in the subway. And that
People
way,
what?
in the subway,
Oh.
so people won't ask me that question. Because if you see people in the subway, we're not happy. So I'm trying to change the setting to justify my, But I know they are somber. I've been getting that all my life. And I don't know what I can do about it, because I don't know. I think it's partially because I'm serious when I'm doing it, and so to do something that looks happy, it's, I don't know. I feel like I should be smiling if I'm drawing it, but I'm too busy.
What year was this one done?
99.
It seems really different from a lot of your.
Yeah, it's one of the earliest pieces.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the earliest pieces of this style. And that face was from a photograph by Mary Ellen Mark, and I did that face a lot.
So when did you start doing the panel people?
When did I start?
Was it like you were still in grad school? Or?
was after grad school. Yeah, in grad school, I don't know, I tried to get kind of arty. I did fish. I did a lot of fish and toys.
Your format is real consistent. I mean, there's just a few pieces.
Yeah, I'm starting to work a little bit bigger
Are you?
because I don't want it to look too blocky, but it sure makes it easier when you're storing them.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say, is that just
It's that
convenience
Midwestern
shipping?
practicality, you know? I have to get over that.
Do you think that living in New York is kind of how you got your art dealer? Just being able to show your work
Absolutely.
there?
Absolutely. But I don't think that's true anymore. I think it's become a very different world because now you have the art fairs. And the art fairs have opened up things internationally and nationally, and so you can get representation. It's not, you know, you used to have to go to New York and suffer. You know.
But getting in the art fairs, don't you have to be represented by a gallery?
Absolutely. But you can be represented from a gallery from anywhere. There's galleries from all over. You know, it's hard for the galleries to get into the art fairs. It's not easy, and it costs a lot. Like my dealer, when he goes to the Armory, he rents a space for 4 days, and it's $60,000.
Oh.
And that's just for the space. They charge you union rates for the lights. They charge you. If you want a door, rent a door, you have to rent the door through them. It's $100 a day. If you want internet, that's $100. It goes from there.
Wow.
No. If you, well, it's all cubicles. The Armory shows just cubicles. So if you want a storage space or an area where you can take private clients, it just skyrockets. If you want a chair, if you want a table, it's big business.
To get into less expensive art fairs?
Yeah.
Start out with?
Yeah. So there's art fairs, and now there's all kinds of satellite art fairs. Like in Miami, there's an art fair, the main art fair, and then there's 20 satellite. And some people have started to rent buildings and then just open it for gallery space. So there's all kinds of.
Yeah, I noticed that they're doing that in Chelsea, right? That all the galleries are essentially like artist studios, and then they just.
Yeah, the galleries have all moved to Chelsea. People have put a lot of money in Chelsea, and now it looks like they're all going to move to the Bowery. So that happens. What happens?
Migration.
Yeah, what happens is that an area becomes very popular. A lot of money goes into it because these collectors have a lot of money, and the dealers have a lot of money, the certain ones. And then what happens is that area changes, and all of a sudden boutiques come in, and then the galleries get frustrated because you have all the Jersey, you know, nothing wrong with people from Jersey. But, you have to move. Yeah.
Is that what happened to Soho, pretty much?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like, you know, it's an outdoor mall.
Yeah.
You can't move, you know, so.
How long have you been solely just working on these to get this a part-time job?
I used to be a legal word processor for years, working part-time or freelance, but in the last 3 years I'm able to make a living. Which is not easy, it's scary. Because you're never sure about that next paycheck. But for some reason I am.
Since you're working with a dealer, Jenny, is the dealer responsible for determining what the price of your work is? Or is that a collaborative?
If I cared, I would, you know, I'm very lucky because I trust I have a good dealer. I'm the only one of my friends that
Has a good dealer.
has a dealer that they can trust.
Really?
Yeah. Because usually it's a battle, you know, because it's usually a battle. And it's a fine line because you want the prices to raise, but if you get to a certain, you know, what my dealer does is that in a lot of instances, he lets the auction house determine the price. So what happens is that he sells the work, then the work might go into the secondary market and it might go to auction. I'm not at that level.
Okay.
I'm not at that level.
Okay.
He has a lot of problems because shows people who don't produce a lot of work. Well, they do produce a lot of work, but there's such demand that what happens is that he'll show the work in the gallery. It'll sell for $400,000, and then what happens is that the collectors buy the work, take it to these Christie's, and sell it for $1 million. So what happens is that all of a sudden the collector is making more than the artist and the dealer combined, and he has a problem because he can't charge that for the piece. Otherwise, so
Are you?
that's a nice problem, but I don't have that problem. He has that problem. But as far as determining price,
Yeah.
he's European, so American dealers tend more to try to control the market.
Europeans.
Well, I don't know. He doesn't. He's much more. He's a unique bird.
Would you be willing to tell us how much any one of these pieces might be sold for through your gallery?
They're usually in the neighborhood of 9,000,
Thank you.
and the gallery takes 50%.
So it's 50-50.
Yeah, unless you really have a name, and then you can negotiate.
Okay.
Like I think Richter or somebody at that level, he can just say you have to buy the piece, and I'm telling you the price.
Okay.
And so he doesn't show and then sell. He sells and then shows.
Yes. So whose art are you digging on these days? Who are you looking at?
I look a lot at Degas. Not Degas, at Velasquez. Lately, I'm crazy about Velasquez. Unfortunately, see, there's two people. But of course, that's a Van der Weyden face in the 1600s, and then she's like from the 40s, so you can't get it.
I recognize that the woman on the right, it appears that she has the shaved hair.
Yeah.
You said that you're able to make a living for like the last 3 years.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, how often do you sell a piece then to be able to?
My dealer generally takes things to the art fairs. He goes to 4 art fairs a year, and so through that, but this is recent. I mean, I'm hoping to get at some point a New York gallery. I had one, and I left them because it became too problematic. I don't know, he kept stepping on the other guys. They just kept fighting, and I couldn't take it. And this is a friend of mine.
That last piece looks really natural. Did you have the same body and the same hands?
No, that was Jackie O's. Oh no, yeah, it might have been the same body.
Because it does have a real natural, different feel to it.
Yeah, I'm not that good at splicing. It doesn't stop me.
But it gives it a quirky feel. It gives it, a different feel to the piece.
Yeah.
Obviously, if I could pick that one out.
Yeah.
So there's a point to that.
That's a friend of mine. But that's not his body. He was mad about that.
So would you consider like a series, like you're using mirror series, or you're a series, or they all just the
I
same?
don't really think in terms of series. But I guess I get so obsessive anyway.
So was there a time when you started, like when you decided to go this route, was there like this light bulb moment? Like how did this develop from the work that you were doing?
I was doing painting. I was doing straight painting. And then I started doing drawings, and I realized that I've always loved drawing. So I tried to figure out, I thought, well, I'll do more drawings, and then I did them on vellum, and then I kept ripping the vellum. It was like,
You can see that you're really hard on your surface.
I'm just not that good, and so then I thought, well, I can put the vellum on board, and then that was a pain. And then I thought, am I going to frame everything? It was like, I'm not doing that. So then I started working on board. It just kind of evolved.
So when did you discover
displayed in the gallery or in fairs, are they displayed just like this, or do they put frames on them, or?
I've never seen it framed. I've seen one framed, but not the way he framed it, but he's starting to frame it. But because space is such a, so costly, at the art fairs, they show a lot of artists.
Jenny, what does the marble dust do? You add marble dust to the gesso. And how does that alter the gesso to your
I think it
liking?
makes it a little bit flatter, it makes it a little bit smoother. It's been so long since I've tried straight gesso that I can't even remember what it does. But it does, I think it makes it more marbleized.
Okay.
Not completely.
Do you sand the surface?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's a really smooth surface.
And I put like 6 or 7 coats of gesso. I hate it. I hate it.
The prep work?
I hate it.
Jenny, I hope you're using a mask when you're using that marble dust, because it's pretty bad on you.
Is it?
Yeah. So just as a note to anybody else who wants to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was told that by a museum when I was using marble dust.
Yeah, I try to put a mask on, but I do it in a hall that has a lot of ventilation.
Put a mask on, Jenny. Thank you.
Wow, you got a lot of work. Are most of these pieces that we're seeing projected, most of them sold?
Yeah.
Like how many pieces do you have hanging around in your studio right now? No?
Not enough.
Not enough. So as soon as you get a new collection of work, your dealer buzzes over and picks it up and takes it back to the gallery?
No, I usually send him imagery and then he'll pick from the imagery.
Okay.
But he comes to New York a lot because he represents people who show in New York a lot. So he'll come to the studio, but largely, like I told him I was having this show and he wanted to see images of what I was sending. So I sent him images and he said, okay, I want these. So then I couldn't send, so that's part of the reason. I was like, but that's a good point. And this is, that's my friend, that's my body, and the background, the trees were Van Gogh. And it's a subway. Now I can explain this.